Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. Thank you guys for all joining us here today, or if maybe you're watching this on the replay. But I have an amazing guest today, and let me introduce him. His name is Justin Ichikawa. He is the owner of Westlake Karate in Westlake Village, California, and a second-generation martial artist carrying forward the legacy of his father, great Grandmaster Dennis Ichikawa. Raised on the mats and shaped by decades of tradition, Justin now leads the next generation with a focus on discipline, confidence, resilience, and real-world character development. Beyond the dojo, he's an entrepreneur who runs a custom apparel printing business, serving schools, gyms, and local organizations. Stepping fully into leadership after his father's passing, Justin is honoring the past while building a modern vision for the future, developing strong martial artists and even stronger human beings. It's great to have you, Just.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Just, gosh, how long have I known you? You were born in what year?
1985.
The year I started martial arts.
Exactly.
So it's so cool to be able to highlight you. And just so you guys know ahead of time, we're doing a special edition on Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We are going to do a tribute show for your father since his birthday is Sunday. And so I'm inviting all of our ATSDA, American Taekwondo Alliance, black belts, instructors, school owners to share their memory of your father. So guys, tune in for that one. But for now, let's talk to Justin and hear a little bit more about his story, his growing up, his background. So tell me, what's the latest and greatest? What's going on?
Not much. I think that right now it's the new transition of, my father has a great legacy, one of the biggest I've ever heard in my life. And it's something that I don't think was congratulated and awarded enough. I know it's because he's my father. I could, preach on him and, sing his praises all day long. But truly, if you take what he's done and put it into a box and just list it and categorize all the things, you can never live enough lifetimes to do and see and live all the things that he's done. It's just insane. I feel that back then you could amass so much, just things you've done in your life, and like in terms of martial arts, like these great legends that have been in the past, and just like he's done and met all those people, and the stories that I got to hear when I was a kid. Instead of Three Little Bears, I was getting Bob Wall knock somebody out in an alleyway, things like that. So that's just like how great my upbringing was, because my father who was who he was.
I mean, you were quite literally born into the martial arts lifestyle and learning to take your first steps on the mat, much like my children as well.
Right.
A lot of us school owners, we know that feeling of raising our kids in the school and hearing those stories. And, I always say that it was my favorite time when we did forms on Wednesday night when your dad shared those stories. And that's one of the things I miss the most is he was such a good storyteller. But you know what? You're a great storyteller too, by the way. I mean, you've always been a performer. You've been on stage. You've got, an amazing YouTube following. So, I think that he rubbed off on you quite a bit that way. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think I got it from somewhere. I definitely got it from him.
Yeah. So, you grew up on the mats under your father. What are some of the earliest memories in the school, and how did they shape who you are today?
It's funny because my father, when most adults have, I first started when I was like 20 years old. You have adult memories, but because I started when I was 3.5, a majority of my memories are just kid memories. So, but the memories that I held on to the most, I can remember one of, like, in 1989, I think I was about 3.5, almost 4, and I was a white belt. So one of my first classes I took, and back then they didn't have Little Dragon 000, quadruple zero uniforms, and I was a little guy, so I had to wear, I think, like a size 1 or 0, and there were that 10-ounce heavyweight uniform. This little kid wearing this uniform, so I'm constantly having to, like, pick up my pants, like, get everything together, and it was a drawstring, and, like, back then, like, there's no way some kid's pulling a drawstring uniform nowadays. So I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and I went in there, and after I used the restroom, I tried to tie my pants, but my dad was the one to tie my pants on. So I couldn't do it myself because I wasn't strong enough. So I was like, okay, how do I figure this out? So there was it was the Arbalest studio back in the gym. So there was the door had like that twist turn lock thing. So the cap was missing. So you used to have to use your finger. So I put one end in there and I tied it in a knot, and I had the other in my hand and I pulled it. So I was able to tighten it. So I was smart enough to know, okay, this will tighten it. But I didn't realize, wait a minute, I'm tightening the knot tighter on this door. So I couldn't. So I was stuck in the bathroom, and I was like, "Nobody help me get out!" So I think it was like Randy Rufi or somebody like that came in, and he like helped me out and like undid it. And like that was like, it was a traumatic memory, but it was like, you know, it was an old, one of my oldest martial arts memory that I remember, just getting stuck in the bathroom because my uniform was just, it was just too big for me. I couldn't fit it. So that was like one of my older memories. But a good memory I had with my father also, speaking of him doing forms, when at the Tarzana school, we had, it was the back room had like it was a meeting area, but they also had the bathroom and the shower. So when I was a little kid, I was like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years old. He would do his forms on Wednesdays. I would do, you know, the 3 forms that I knew at the time. And then when I was done, I would go back, take a shower, come back in, and we had this little TV set that only got like 2 channels that had those giant antennas on it. So I would sit there and I'd watch my dad do his forms, and like whoever was with him doing the forms. And so I would just be in awe of just, you know, watching him do all the things and doing all the forms. And then when I got bored, I would have my dinner, watch like a TV. And I think it only came in 2 channels, and it was always one of the channels was always playing Planet of the Apes for some reason. So it'd just be on repeat all the time. And so we would do that. And then there were these giant slugs that would go across the alleyway at the back of the Tarzana school. We would watch, and he would talk to me about it. I'm like, oh, these slugs have been here for so long. And just like a core memory that he and I shared, that my sisters and my mom did their own thing, and then my dad and I just had this. And I would spend all those, you know, nights at Tarzana studio. He would drive me back to TO, and then, you know, I'd go to sleep, and we'd stop actually along the way and get like a WWF magazine at this magazine stand on Ventura Boulevard.
Nice.
Those are pretty like cool core memories that we used to have. Like those are like my older kid version martial arts memories. I don't have any like old like fight stories or anything like that, unfortunately.
And your dad, you know, back then he owned both Tarzana Karate and Tia Westlake Karate, and he would, you know, he would be at one school for a couple days a week, and the other school the other couple days a week. This was during the time, I know, you know, in the early '90s, where you know, I was coming up in the ranks, and EJ and I would be teaching at Tia Westlake while he was at Tarzana,
Right.
and then every once in a while we'd go out there and fill in, because notoriously in Tarzana someone would no show. They'd be like,
All
I
the
need
time.
someone to teach class. But tell me now, those memories, how did they, you know, shape your life, or is there another memory that kind of helps where it shaped your life, where it changed the trajectory of your life?
Right. I think that I think the way it shaped my life was about kind of realizing speaking of you and EJ being a part of the school, it just gave me that sense of camaraderie and family, because I didn't grow up with brothers. I have, you know, 3 women in my life, my sisters and my mother, and I didn't have that sense of family in terms of like male influence in my life other than my father. So having everyone around me, having all these people that I would look up to, and gave me a chance to really see. And I think we talked about this before. We got a chance to see these people, the Hughes, the Conor Colanos, the David Coxes, and the Brian Ann's. These guys I would look up and be like, wow, these are phenomenal martial artists. Like these adults are just like, I don't really see people like this in our system all that much. No offense to anybody, but it was just these people. When I was a kid, I would look up to them and be like, wow, like these are phenomenal martial artists. Like I want to be just like these people. So it gave me something to aspire to. It gave me something to work towards that. And I look back at old martial arts ballet videos, and I'm like, I kind of want to teach my students some of these endings and these one steps. So I use that as influence to kind of help me guide and shape my students to how I want them to be. I want them to be just like those people. And it also gave me that sense of family, to where even when I, you know, and I grew up now and I'm older now and I have my own family and my own school, I could still call on you guys to be there for me. And I know for a fact, without a shred of doubt, that the people that my father built, these martial artists, this perseverance and this integrity that you guys have, are always there to back me up and support me anytime I need it. And that sense of family is the most important thing to me in my life. And I always know that no matter what, you guys will be there for myself, for my family. And that gives me so much peace and satisfaction to know that, you know, you guys will always be there. And I think that is definitely what shaped me as a martial artist, as a human, knowing that I want to have that integrity. I want to have that honor that my father taught me through martial arts, that I get to watch him be like with other people. And I watched him, you know, have that honor and to you know, to present it to his great self to everybody around him, and they wanted to do that back to him, that reflection of him. So I think that's probably the best thing that I learned from him and growing up in the studio.
Yeah. And as you know, I have two younger brothers who also did martial artists who became black belts as well. My parents trained. I mean, we were like, the Flame family was in the motorhome at T.O. Westlake doing
Right.
homework and having dinner in between classes. So I had a wonderful family life and brothers to have with me. But you and I had this conversation when you came out to the school a couple weeks ago where I still, just like you, I still hang on to these memories of the Brian Nance, the Mark Coxes, David Cox, Tiffany Wing. Um, Gosh, the list could go on and on and on.
Right.
I still hold these people in such high regard, and they were literally my heroes. I
Right.
mean, I looked up to these people that I wanted to be like them. I mean, I guess that's why we went on to be a martial arts instructor and own a
Exactly. Right.
martial arts school. Like here we are, right? And you know what? And I reminded you this then, and I'll say it again, that you're that person now. You are that person to the other younger masters coming up, the other younger black belts. Like you are that person. I mean, I can't tell you how much I hear from Anthony Perez. Oh, Grandmaster Ichikawa showed me this cool sword form, and he's so cool. And and he looks up to you like so much. And so, and to my brother Jacob, and to Brandon Kemmer, and Patrick Prager, and all of these other people that Mark Cox is still going strong, right? Like we
Mhm.
still have these people, but now you're one of them. I mean, what does that feel like to know that you're one of those people that you thought of these heroes and you're one of them?
I don't know. I don't think I could accept that praise in any way, shape, or form. I humbly appreciate it, and if they do see me that way, I'm honored. But I don't think I could ever see myself like that because I see you guys at this level, and I hope that I can live a life that I can eventually meet that for sure. But it means a lot to that, and when you put it in that perspective, that it does make sense. It does really make sense, so that like those people to us, it's shifting, the timeline shifting to where we are those people now, and it's pretty cool to think of it like that. I never really thought of it like that.
I mean, it's the evolution of things. It's supposed to happen that way. That's
Right.
the way your dad brought us up. Your dad brought us up to be these heroes and these legends. But the important part is that we know that the next generation is going to be the next set of heroes. So it's up to us to keep that bar high, to set that example, but also to raise them up. It's like I look back and I was a 17-year-old kid when I earned my black belt, and your dad says, you know, you're teaching class tonight. I go, what? Like, what do you want me to teach? He's all, teach whatever you want. It was the night I earned my black belt. Brian Fujitani and I split the class, and I'm like, what? And it's like I don't know if he saw something in me or maybe he just wanted the night off. But either way, he
A
was
little bit of
giving
both.
me right. He gave us the opportunity to grow like that, and it's so important. It's one of my main goals and focus is to raise the next generation. In my school, I have my son, Mason Flame, who, like I look at him like I look at you, like you had your dad, and then here you are, and I'm like, not that I was ever the level your dad is, but like, it's cool to
It's the
see your
same idea.
son do it. I know Mark Cox feels the same way with his son, with Michael in his school. It's a super special thing. But like, John Haw, who helps Mason, they both run the school, and now Maddie's super involved. And I've got this leadership team. Like I'm looking at 10, 11-year-olds, and I'm like, one day
Right.
they
Yeah, you
could be
could be
running,
that guy.
they could be running the show.
Uh-huh.
So hey, thanks to Brent Obillo. He called us youngins because he's like a year, maybe two older than me. And then Kinsey's watching and says you are absolutely one of those people. So see, I told you
Thank you.
so.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
but let's talk about leadership, right? Stepping into the leadership role after your father's passing, it's both an honor and a responsibility. Right? With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, sir.
What was the transition like emotionally and professionally?
I think that the the transition emotionally was probably one of the harder ones. Honestly, they might even be the same. I think that the hardest part was grieving while still knowing that I needed to lead was probably the hardest part. I was grateful and very I don't know, honored that you guys were able to step in and help me out when I needed it the most. I think that last month was probably the hardest time in my life, to be honest with you. And I think that stepping back into the school with my father gone, like walking in the door, looking to my right and not seeing him at the desk was probably still to this day is still one of the hardest things that I've had to do. Just knowing that he was once always in that chair, you know, he always was once in his office and he's not there anymore. And it was pretty hard to make that transition. And professionally, I'm dealing with it now. I'm dealing with it currently in terms of how do I still do what he did in the school? Do I still run my program in our school the same way? Do I make it my own thing and, you know, move on from what he did? But I think that's the hardest thing that I have to do, because I don't want to dishonor him and I don't want to tarnish his legacy by doing something new that he might not approve of. Every day, I talk with him and I say, I hope this is okay. Like, I hope you don't mind that I do this. I think it's a really challenging thing to kind of overcome, is to overcome. I don't want to cross a line with something he wouldn't want, but I know that, you know, him being my father, he would want me to do whatever I want to do, whatever makes sense in the school, which I'm sure you'd want your son to do the same. Like, oh, sure, if you think it makes sense, you should do it. For the betterment of the school, you should definitely do it. So I think that's definitely the hardest part, and just the pressure of honoring his legacy is also difficult as well. I want to make sure that I do right by him and I keep his name and our name and our family name and what he's built. I hope that stays strong and it stays true to all our new students that are coming up in the ranks. I want them to know what he's done, and I want to honor that legacy, and I want it to keep going. I want him to his name to never die, and I want our new students that you know that come in the school now, that we just had a bunch that just came in, that they don't know who he was, that they never met him, and I don't want that legacy to die. So I want to make sure I speak his name and I teach his lessons and all the things like that. It's probably the hardest part of those two, emotionally and professionally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just by continuing on and teaching martial arts, I mean, you have a piece of him inside of you always, you know, and I know that he's watching down. I know that he's super proud, and I know that he's kind of excited to see where you take it, because you know, I remember this is, and I might share this on Saturday night, but you know, one of the things that I remember is that I wanted to bring in a demo team back in the day, right? Which you were one of the very first members of that demo team, one of the founding members. You know, when actually Brian Fujitani and I started it before EJ jumped in and filled his spot. You know, the Scott Kitahara and Keith Ueda and you know, Rafael Castellanos, who I still see every now and again. Who else? Colin and Parsha. But my point is, like, I went to him and I said, you know, we don't have a demo team, and can we wear red uniforms? And he looked at me like, how dare you, right? Can we? Because I wanted to wear red uniforms. You know, I always saw Tom Bloom's students had the blue uniforms. I was like, we need red, you know. And he's like, and he just gave me that look like, how dare you? And he said, I'll tell you what. Go home and write me a report on why you think we should do it. And again, just one of those lessons and just one of those things that, like, I know now what he was doing, but then I was like, what the heck? So I brought him this whole thing, and it'll be good for the school because we're gonna go out and promote the school in the community. We're gonna get new students from it. It's gonna be good for, you know, retention of students to have an activity. And so after I did all this, he said, okay, we'll do it. Go ahead. But like at first, like, I was scared, nervous walking in because I didn't want to dishonor him. But at the same time, I was like, I see some change that we can make that would be good. And he accepted it, you know. And then, you know, fast forward to the stripes and the different belt colors that, you know, Mr. Cox brought in after working with Terry Brumley, and, you know, starting to go to the Maya Super Show. He was a lot more open to new things than we actually thought. But I mean, like, we just have this like very traditional history and background that they showed us. But I know that he is going to just love what you're doing, and as you continue to grow.
I hope so.
So the next question just kind of talks about the honoring tradition. How do you balance honoring tradition while modernizing the school to meet the needs of today's families and students? Because listen, what we were doing in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even in the early 2000s, It's a different world today. The
Uh-huh.
kids are different. The parents are different. Their needs and desires are different. Talk about this a little bit.
That's, oh my God. That's one of the hardest things, is to balance those two things. It's the amalgamation of tradition and adaptation. It's trying to find these two worlds and bring them together. That's probably the toughest thing. Uh, I want to say that, man, the core values that were built, like you mentioned, back in the 70s, it was just like, hardcore tradition. It was still the world of the Korean, Chinese, Japanese art brought to America, and we had that ideology, that like hardcore discipline, like, you 10 push-ups, like do that right now, about that hardcore attitude. But then you look at today, and what do we have today? We have, it's okay, like, tell me how we're feeling, how we're doing, which there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want feelings to be shut down. But some people took advantage of that, and they took it a little too far. And now they made that their personality of, they're a little bit too much of one versus the other. And there can't be that's the balance that we need to have. We need to have that, the respect, the discipline, the perseverance, the tenets of our Tang Soo we need to have, but we also need to have a modern communication and teaching methods where we understand people and we hear them and we listen to them and we get to give them a chance to express their feelings, especially adults coming into our world, and teens that are struggling with their own realization of how to be a human and how to be an adult in our society and our world nowadays. And there's so many feelings and emotions happening. So I think that's that balance, almost like a juxtaposition of how do I have this and that and have them meet in the middle. I think that's probably the biggest challenge of modernizing things. So I think to still hold strong, still have, we don't say the Y word. We have good manners, we have respect, we have discipline, because parents, everybody loves that. And I know when I have kids one day, I want them to be respectful, polite, say please and thank you, respect their elders, respect their seniors, but still give them accountability. Have them accountability for, what am I doing wrong and why do I do it? Anytime I discipline a student, I never just say 10 push-ups and I walk away. I never, berate them or anything like that, like they might have done. Like I've heard my father tell me stories in the past of, some people getting knocked out because they did something wrong or getting punched or something like that. So I want to make sure that my student understands, why did you do those push-ups? Tell me why you did those push-ups. Well, I don't know. Well, let me explain it to you. That way they know what they did. I'm showing them they need to be accountable for what they've done, and teach them, how can I change in the future? How can I make that better? I think that's the one thing we can do, or blending old style with new style. You still do your push-ups because you did it wrong, but I helped you understand why you did it, and you're accountable for that. And you can go through the feelings. I know you're upset. I know you're angry. I know you're mad. I know you're embarrassed. But we have to make sure that we go through that. You fall, you get back up, we teach you why you did it, and you keep going. I think that's how we can refuse that balance together. Definitely the convergence of those two.
My good friend Kevin Kowalczyk often says, respect tradition, but embrace innovation. And when we're talking about the innovation of, maybe not all, I mean, technique has evolved and has been innovated. I mean, man, if you look at sport karate now versus sport karate 20, 30 years ago, the talent is overwhelming. It's amazing. But a lot of people still ask me, you still do forms? Like, you still do that stuff? And it's like, because that's the tradition. But I mean, we do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, we do we spar, we do self-defense, we teach Krav Maga. I think it was just really the amount of reverence and respect that your father had for the art in martial arts is why we continue to do what we do. I mean, and there's a very big part of people that want to have that, that art form be part of it. So, I'm glad we discussed that a little bit. And I think one of the biggest things that we've changed, if I'm looking back from the beginning to now, is, and you touched a lot of different points about this, I think we develop our relationship better with our students now than ever before. Before it was, you are the student, I am the teacher, you do what I say, and that's all. Now it's, okay, I know what you need, but I also want to know what you want. And I kind of blend those two and give you both to make you, a well-rounded martial artist and person. I think that's probably the biggest thing that's changed, is that I'm not saying that we have to be friends with all of our students, but, seek first to understand rather than to be understood. Right. And so we do that a lot more with our students now. And I think that's great. We talk a lot more about social emotional learning and how important that is, because it's the way, our children and adults brains think,
Yes.
not just here's a center punch, go. No, you're doing it wrong. Put it here. No,
Right.
faster. No, right. There's a
It's always
lot
like
more
demand,
to
demand,
it.
demand. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
To remove that, to remove that feeling of you still can command the respect without demanding that respect. If you demand it, you say, you owe me this because I have this belt on my waist. It's like that can't be. It will never fly nowadays, anyways. And I think
Right.
there's no reason to have that anyway. You lose that social bond between you and your students, and they're humans first. They're not a paycheck, they're not a business, they're not whatever. They're a human, and you want to build that relationship and that camaraderie. You want them to be a part of your family, because that's what we are. You are my family. We're not blood, but you don't have to be blood to be family. Like, we are this group of people, and we want our students to be the same people. Definitely. Like, I want to make sure that all of our students understand that first and foremost, that we do understand them. We're here for them, because what do? We are the best motivational people in this world. We hype them up. We gas them up. It's the only art we can get punched, smile about it, hug each other, and keep going. Like, there's
That's
something
right.
about that that's stronger than
Oh yeah.
baseball sometimes. It's pretty cool. That's what I love about it.
Absolutely. Hey, quick shout out to a couple more people watching. Paul Kramer. Paul Kramer, what is your black belt number? I want you to put that in the comments. Paul is one of Mr. Ichikawa's black belts at TO Westlake. So thanks for watching. He said you are both those people, awesome martial artists. Thank you. I know that this is not my dad, but it's probably my mom watching from his account. Hi, Mom. Post some comments, some questions. Let's see who we have here. Mary Galdina, maybe. Did I get it right? Paul Kramer is black belt number 657. Thank you. Jacob Coley, what's up? This is one of my black belts. Jacob, what's your black belt number with us at Moore Park Karate? Better relational methods keep them coming back. Well said, Master Flame. Makes them feel known and heard. Definitely what people or students need these days. Listen, my goal is to get people in to martial arts, to give them all the benefits, but then I want them to keep training for as long as they possibly can, because those benefits do run out in a sense. Like, you could train for a year and then never train again, and the things that you learned in the year, some things are going to stick, but some of those things go away. It's kind of like a muscle, right? If you work the muscle, it stays fit. If you don't work the muscle, it's just going to sag. And so that's what happens. Man, all these comments coming in, I got to put them up. Thank you, Mom. You're the best. You're probably saying that to Justin. Kinsey says character development and leadership is something martial arts teachers teach every single day. It doesn't get talked about enough. 100%, absolutely, 100%. I think character development. It almost just goes without saying. And listen, I think there's character development in baseball and soccer and Boy Scouts, but the difference between those sports is they get a coach for 3 months. And then they're moving on to another coach. So now the new coach may have different methods of character development. And it's kind of like starting over. See, with martial arts, you get us from the time you start at 3 years old. And when you're 33, it's like we really know the person, and it's really the same stuff. So let's see. Jacob, he says, I'm not going to lie. I think it's 316 or 216. I'll go check it out. I'll let you know. Here's one of the guys right here. David Starachi. Two great men right there. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Mr. Strachey is number 40. Is he 45 or 42?
I think he's 45.
Because Tiffany Wing is one of those. Anyway, one of our, like we were talking about before, one of the guys where like you hold them up and they're like your hero and you want to be like them. Like, it wasn't just the patches on your leg, Mr. Strachey, but that was kind of cool that you had all the international patches, because I don't know anybody else that went to the internationals that many times. But also now as a matured man, I appreciate him so much more. We check in with each other regularly. You talk about this brotherhood. It's not just the martial arts, it's just like, hey man, how you doing? How's it going? One of the guys that really checked in on me after my father passed, and he was there with us doing forms honoring your dad. So super cool. Okay, couple more and then we'll get back to questions. Hayden Barnes, going through that right now. It's definitely like a muscle. Yeah, you got to keep working it, man. And that's the thing. And people don't understand that that's how, martial arts and soccer and baseball are different. Like, You can't just do it for a season and be like, woohoo, that was fun. It's something that needs to be long term to continue. So, and Mary Galdina said that her son is taking classes with Master Ichikawa now. So that's one of your current
Mike.
students. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you. All right, let's get back to a question because we drifted off a bit. So, you work with children, teens, adults. How does your teaching approach change across the different age groups?
That's a tough one. There's 3 different tiers, right? You have the kids need structure and encouragement. That's when you start to mold. You start to teach them the art. You start to teach them not just and we talked about this, not just the art. It's not just how to block, punch, and kick. It's so much more than that. One of my father's expressions that he would use frequently, it was, we build strong character through martial arts, speaking of character development. And that's at this age, the younger martial artist, you are, as a kid, you are teaching them impulse control. You're teaching them accountability. You're teaching them respect. You're teaching them balance, coordination, fine motor skills. You're teaching them confidence. One of the most important things ever is how to stand on their own 2 feet, how to be their own person. That's probably the most important thing that these kids need to learn is that they can succeed. They can get hurt, get back up. They can do the Batman. They can fall and figure out why and get back up again. That's probably the best thing to teach the kids. And then the teens is the tricky one. I think out of all 3, teens might be the most challenging because as a teen, you are going through, we have a lot of teens in our school now that are going through so many emotional, physical, mental life changes. Their bodies are changing, the chemical imbalance in their bodies, and they're discovering who they are, and they're balancing that mixed with trying to be a good martial artist and figuring out your body. It's just that the duality of those 2 different things is it's rough. It's tough, and then I think that it just teaches them, I guess, how to fail safely and how to get better at that. And then the adults, we have a lot of good adults that just started recently, and we have a lot of adults that struggle. And I think that teaching adults is one of my favorite things to do because we get to teach them theory, and I get to it's the betterment of my own teaching and my own style is that I get to help them understand, why do we do this? Why is this punch a punch? Why do we shift? Why do we pivot? How does this help us get better at that? And they can understand it. But at the same time, they are struggling with their own imperfections and just struggles with their own body, and our body's failing us. They always say that my body's failing me, I'm falling apart, this hurts and that hurts, and we call it the walking wound. And there's just and I hurt and I feel for them, and the older I get, the more I feel. I wake up, I'm like, oh, what does this hurt? What does that hurt? So it's fun getting to find new ways to teach them how to do this without hurting that, and watching them overcome their inner demons and their struggles, and realizing even though I'm an adult, I'm never too old to learn something new. I can get better. I can overcome these things, and I can overcome, these, I don't know, just nervousness and, kind of insecurities. I think it's so impressive to see that. And that's what I love about the martial arts. You get to watch people evolve and change and become better than they were yesterday. That's my favorite thing. And that goes across the board from kids, teens, and adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great answer. Now, if I were to answer this question for you, by the way, how does your teaching approach change across the age groups? The jokes are different.
Yes, definitely the jokes are different.
Right? Because you've always got a good zinger. and yeah, the jokes are different with the younger kids than they are with the adults. But going back to, the insecurities and the imperfections, I often hear from adults, I have to get in shape before I take martial arts, or I need to, it's all the things I need to do before I do it. And it's like, but wait, if you do martial arts, you're going to lose weight, get in shape, feel less stressed.
The amount of times I've had to tell people that, I swear.
Let's put this in the right order. And, I started at 10 years old. So I was pretty much a rubber band, and all the way through, probably my 20s even, I felt fairly invincible. And then, you get into your 30s and things start to change, feels a little different. 40s get a little bit harder. Now I'm in my 50s. And as I work towards my 60s, I'm sure things are going to be different. I'm sure, other people can tell me what that's like. But the key is to keep moving, right? Because once you stop moving, once you stop moving, you're done. Like
Uh,
that's just it. And your dad was all about that, man. I
he was
mean,
the epitome of that, right?
into his last days,
Uh-huh.
he's doing push-ups and chair push-ups, dips, and and his workout, right?
Right.
And that was such a I mean, you looked at him at his age, like it
Right.
reminds me a lot of like Junri. Junri was
Uh-huh.
like he could do
Oh,
100 push-ups, rep
yes.
them
That was his
out,
claim to fame, right?
and so, I think that we just need to remember, though, that yeah, we're going to have some imperfections. We're going to have some insecurities. The mat reveals a lot. The mat really brings out
It never
a
lies.
lot.
It
It
still
never
says the
lies,
truth.
right?
Yep.
And so, for the good and for the bad,
Definitely.
So, but you got to put yourself out there. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. And I highly, highly respect so many of the adults that start later in life, knowing that they're probably not going to be the greatest
Mhm.
martial artist, but they're going to be the greatest version of themselves.
That's the thing. That's what makes it so great is that the people that get it naturally, these people that can just go on the mat and just do it, and you're like, man, I believe this guy. This guy's just like making me look like a fool over here because he just did it naturally. But those people have to work hard for it. We have adults right now in my adult class. I'm not going to call them out or anything, but they are not the best. They are not perfect. They don't come on the mat and just drop down the splits and do all these cool things. But to watch them work hard, to me, that person deserves it and they earn it. Like the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory for these people. And it makes me appreciate them and honor them and respect them so much more. For those of you who, my students, I'm talking about, my adults, I respect you and I watch you struggle with imperfections and insecurities, and you just come every day, even though I watch you struggle and I watch you suffer and berate yourself, but you keep coming and you keep working
Yeah,
hard. And that's so honorable and respectful to me. Like just, so much. I love seeing that. It's awesome.
absolutely. And like I said, you might not be the greatest martial artist, but you can become the greatest version of yourself, and that's really what's most important. I have one black belt at Chatsworth. One of Mr. Cox's black belts, Ron Lopez. This dude is like he's a Vietnam vet. He's been in martial. He started martial arts much later in life, and he's a third-degree black belt. He keeps telling me, I'm going to get my fourth degree by the time I forget what age he said, definitely over his 70s. And then he's like telling me his fifth degree, and I'm like, dude, like that is so motivating and so
Uh,
inspiring. And this guy just gets after it and kills it, makes all the young bucks like destroys them, and you're like, what the heck? What was in the water? You know?
right.
So anyway, shout out to him. Hey, Roseanne Azatat, thank you. Hello, thanks for watching. By the way, if you guys are watching live and you have questions that you want to ask, you can ask questions and we'll have Justin answer that. I've got a few more, but we'd love to hear from you as well. We talked a little bit about, confidence is something that many kids struggle with today. What breakthroughs have you seen when a child begins to truly believe in themselves?
I honestly think that sparring and board breaking are the true testaments of character building and confidence in our art. I think that, one steps, combos, forms, great stuff, but board breaking and sparring I think are it. I think for me are the big things that really is the true test to see if you can, overcome those things, because board breaking has honor and traditions. My father would always tell stories of, why we break boards and where it came from, the riders on the horse and all that stuff. And when I watch kids break boards and I see them just hit that board over and over again, and they cry and they're like afraid of it, and then eventually they build up to it, and as time goes on they mature and they get older, and then when I watch them break that board, and then they're just like, wow, like I'm not made out of glass, I could do this. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is something that's just always so impressive to see that. And then sparring for sure will always be that thing, because sparring is the closest we're going to get to real fighting without it being a real fight. And even, sometimes on the mat we have seen real fights in sparring. People have
No
gone at
names,
it.
no names.
Right, no names, no names. But I think that when you watch, and like I said it before, when you watch some kid just get just racked right in the face, like right between the eyes, and they're just like either crying their eyes out and there's bloody, and it's like, oh, I don't want to. Like the other night we had a fight night and some girl got punched in the face and she did that whole like cutesy, like, I got hit and I don't want to do it anymore. And I knew that if I were to be like, oh, it's okay, and I gave her a hug, she would just quit and I'd never see her again. All right, she'd leave for the night, go get Wendy's, and I'll see you later. But I said to her, like, do you want to quit or do you want to keep going? Do you want this to be the last time you're on the mat and this is how you want to spar? You just want to quit when it gets tough and you get hurt, or do you want to keep moving? because pain, pain will last a minute, it'll last an hour, it'll last, things like that, but it'll go away. It'll stop. It won't be there forever. But if you quit, that's something that's forever. You'll never get that back. Once you're done, you're done. It's over. And I said, do you want to quit or do you want to keep moving? She's like, and she thought about it and she's like, no. And she thought, like, I put that in her head. Do I want to be a quitter? Do I want to give up or do I want to keep going? Do I want to persevere? And she's like, I watched her mind think about it. And she's like, no, I want to do it. And I want to get back in there. And she decided on her own, well, relative, I gave her a little push, but she decided, eventually, like, I want to do this. I want to, I don't want to quit. I want to keep going. And she went out there and finished the fight and it did fantastic. And I even had her do 2-on-1 sparring and she did well at that too. So she, I just wanted to push her a little bit more, but seeing those two things, coincide, it was that confidence and those breakthroughs was like, wow, that's why we do what we do. And I love seeing those kids just overcome that battle of, like, I'm afraid of that board, but you know what? I'm going to break through it. And that's the perfect example of breaking through it. Like, I'm going to break through, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get hit in the face and I'm going to keep going. And then you watch those kids later and they get punched and they shake it off like the donkey in the well and they keep moving and they keep on moving forward, which is so rad to see. And the best part about it is it teaches them, I'm not made out of glass. I can get hit and I can keep going. Because if you get hit with no glove, no headgear outside, I know my kids will get racked. They'll be like, I'm good. Let's keep going. And they'll keep going. But, some other kid their age, they get punched, they'll fall apart. And I tell them that all the time. You cannot fall apart out there. I'm teaching you to be tough here. So out there, if you do get hit, you will not lose. You will not fail. You will keep moving forward. That's the most important part.
And what just a huge empowerment moment for them, and I love that you use the term breakthrough, because I often use this with board breaking. We have students on their very first class, their first introductory class, they're breaking a board.
Yes.
Of course, it's a demo board, so
right,
but it's a confidence booster. And every single time, I don't care if they're 3 years old or 13 years old, they break that board, right? And almost immediately,
right,
they go and they look at their mom or dad. I can't believe I did that. And what's awesome is I get to set the tone with that term. I said, did you see that moment? And I'll ask the child, by the way, what was your favorite part of class today? Breaking the board.
Every time.
What was your, ask the parents, what was your favorite part? And then I say, this is what I want you to know about martial arts, because this moment right here, when they have that breakthrough, that's going to happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the next several years. I'm already pre-framing the long term, right? But letting them know, like, this breakthrough is something that we look to achieve. We aspire to get them through, because we know that kids are going to have challenges. We know that there's going to be pitfalls. We know about the green belt blues. We know about those the roller coaster, the ups and the downs of emotions. We know it. It's there. And you made a great point. You can choose. You can choose. In our student creed, winners never quit, quitters never win. I choose to win, sir. The difference between winning and quitting is a choice. And so every time we give them that choice, right, we're just empowering them that much further. So that brings me up to this comment here. How can parents help kids keep their interest and motivation for classes and help them to move forward? I'll let you answer that.
The best thing you could do right there is get excited with them. Make it exciting for them. Make it something that's important to you and to them, mainly to them. Ask them, what did you do in class today? What was your favorite part? Just what we do. If I had a kid and they were doing and that's one of my biggest fears. I'm gonna tell you that right now. One of my biggest fears is when I have a child one day, they're doing martial arts. They don't get a say, but when they just say to me, I don't want to do it anymore. That's my biggest fear, is that the legacy dies right there, is that my kid doesn't want to do it anymore. It just hurts. So I want to make it exciting for them. So what do? I will ask them to show me something. I will at home say, let's do this together. Like, I'm gonna grab you in a self-defense grab, and I want you to get out of it. Around the house, my dad and I would always shut doors with inside crescent kicks. We would always, play first point wins to decide, who gets what first. Or we would always kind of go in the kitchen and get a spatula and start, hitting each other and start working on defense like that. Like, these are the things that went on in the Ichikawa household, in case you didn't know. So we would do things like this all the time. So we would make it because it was our life. So it's for you guys, it's different, but this is literally our livelihood. But if you make it something that is life, that is that is a part of what we do, because like you said before, Grandmaster Flynn, is that it's not just something we do seasonally. This is what we do forever. This is a lifetime commitment that we're putting ourselves in. So if we make it something that's like that, something that's so much fun and exciting, and everywhere we go, we try to do something. Let's say we go to the beach. Okay, let's do a form, on the beach. Let's try and do the Karate Kid, jump kicks in the sand. Let's try and do all the, if you make it exciting and make it a part of your daily life, I guarantee Mike will enjoy doing martial arts, and he'll look forward to going to it every day. I know that Mike is in a different spot right now. I'm speaking to the mother here, that he's in a spot right now where he just started and he's not quite sure where he fits. But I want to make sure that I want to reassure you that eventually he will find his place in the sun. He will eventually come into his own, feel good about what he's doing, and it will be good. You just got to just make it exciting for him. Ask him questions. Just have him show you things. Have him put on a show. Be like, hey, Mike, show me your new form that you learned. I want to see it. And then when he finishes it, when he does it, congratulate him. Be like, oh, that was so great. That was so awesome. Things you would normally do as a parent. Just make it more exciting for him. And when on the drive home from the school, I believe is the most important drive home. It's that the moment you come home, what did you learn in class today? What was your favorite part? Show me what you did. Show me the thing that you're working on. Make it exciting for them. Help them work on stripes that they're working on. And you could even ask me questions like, how can I, show me some things and I'll show you how to do it. That way you guys can do it at home. That way that builds that relationship even stronger between you and your children. And it makes them more interested in wanting to be there, I think. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, that was great. And I'll add, a little piece that, the parents have to trust the process. This is where us as instructors and school owners, if we're not educating our parents and empowering our parents of the process, how do they know, what to look forward to and where we're going? And so they have to really trust the process, and we have to develop that relationship. Just like a teacher at school. If you have a great relationship with your teacher at school, your son or daughter is going to have a better experience throughout the year because you're in tune with what's going on. And because one of the hardest things is when a parent comes to me and they say that their child wants to quit. They just don't. I don't want to force them to do anything they don't want to do, which is the biggest crock of BS ever, right? Because we force our kids to brush their teeth. We force them to clean their room. We force them to do all kinds of things they don't want to do.
Right.
Why? Because we see value in it, because we know it's important. So once a parent understands that martial arts is important and we trust the process, then it's a matter of showing the steps, right? I mean, don't focus on black belt. I tell my students, don't focus on black belt. It's a nice goal. It's a big goal, but you know what? It's pretty overwhelming. It's a long time to get there, right? Focus on getting to the next class. Focus to getting the next stripe. Focus on getting the next belt. And if you focus on the days, right, the years will take care of themselves. So, one day at a time. I'll quote Dave Kovar all the time, just because it's just stuck in my head. But I mean, that's really a great way to focus on it. And you said it great. Let them come home and show you what they learned. Have them teach you a little bit. Right. That's always kind of fun too. So, all right, couple comments. Roseanne said, got my black belt at 35, trained when I was younger, but really got serious as an adult. That happens a lot, which is great. We've got Dana Abbott. What's up, Dana? Thank you. Hope the weather is good out in Arizona. Good to see you. We have black belt number 685. Is that Aja? Is that how you say it? Hopefully I'm saying it right, but that's black belt 685. And then here we go. I got to bring this up because Leah, this is Devin Oviedo's mom. My son was struggling, so I stepped on the mat for one class. Here I am now training. I'm not the best, but we show up for each other, and it helps motivate us to get to class. Martial arts has become part of our lifestyle. And man, the conversations that we had to have early on, it's hard. It's hard to watch your kids struggle and not like you were talking about your student, not kind of knowing their place, but they do. They start finding their place, and they start feeling part of the family. Again, I think the one thing that we've done better, over the years is the relationships that we're building.
Definitely.
I love, I've given Devin private lessons probably since he was, I think maybe a blue belt. We have an amazing relationship. I know all about this kid. I know what makes him work. I know what sets him off. I know what doesn't work. And, that's what makes a good coach and teacher, in my opinion, is when you know how to help them focus in the right direction, and they know that you care about them and you're doing it for their, for their well-being. and there's that trust. I mean, there's no limit, to what we can accomplish. Hayden says, my parents would have us break boards at home or forms on the beach. Oh, yeah, all the time, right? How do you help students pass the green belt blues as an instructor? This is from Odyssey Martial Arts in Oregon, right? Bend, Oregon. This is Matt White, who is one of my black belts. Ken White was his student, took over the Tong Soo Do University in Oregon, and then has since changed names, I believe, if I'm speaking correctly. But how do you get students past the green belt blues? Man, we call it the green belt blues because you're about midway. The first year is exciting, the middle sucks, the end is exciting because I'm getting closer to black belt. But guess what? After black belt, there's the black belt dip again too, before second degree, right?
Right.
And it's just this kind of time thing. So what kind of things do you do to help students push through those green belt blues?
For the green belts, we have them we do board breaking starting in green belt. We do weapon work, things like that. I think the hardest part through the green belt is helping them. I think that's the first level of true advancement of teaching them advanced techniques because that's what makes it more exciting. If I were to, okay, green belts, we're going to do spinning side kick. We did it when you were a blue belt. We're going to do it as a green belt. That's what makes it so horrendous, is that's like, oh man, side kick again. Here we go again. So if we, every now and again, we introduce more advanced technique, we teach them, okay, this is how I do a combo. So instead of doing step forward, inside defense, step forward, knife and defense, now I'm going to show you how to do inside knife hand. I'm going to show you do high defense punch, chop punch. And it's like, well, that was kind of cool. How'd you do that? So if we start teaching them, this is what advanced look like, but we raise the bar a little bit, that kind of gives them a taste of what red belt and black belt look like without giving them too much. So I think the best way to get past the green belt blues is to introduce the green belts. This is what advanced technique looks like. This is what you have to look forward to. This is where you're going to learn it, and you want to start getting better at it. That way, when red belt hits, I can show you the really advanced stuff, but you're already going to be better at it. I think that's the best thing you could do. And just now, also, I'm started introducing a weapons program, so we're going to be starting teaching students more weapons. And I think that is a huge thing that will help them get more interested in wanting to get through things. Is I get to learn how to use the bow, I get to learn swords, nunchucks, side, tonfa, all those things. I think that will definitely help out with getting them past that hump of green belt, because in that middle, you are just kind of like doing the same things you did a little bit when you're a blue belt, but we have to I think the advanced technique would be the best thing I would suggest, is to kind of teach them that kind of stuff, or, get them into board breaking a little bit more, teach them more advanced sparring skills, or you can even get them into tournament competing. That way it's like, okay, during this time, I can compete in, Grandmaster Flames tournament. I can compete in Master Chemist tournament. I can go all these different tournaments and be a competitor like Anthony, I think that would be a good way to get them through. So it's like, okay, I have something to look forward to now, kind of to pass the time in the middle.
Yeah. And I'll speak on because that's like the first plateau, like I said, the first year, everybody's super excited. It's that second year where they start to kind of plateau, and then it's like, boom, they start making the trek to black belt. But then after black belt, we kind of hit that plateau again. And I kind of, I talk to our students a lot about this, like college, right? Like if you're going to become a black belt, it's kind of like graduating high school, right?
Right.
Okay, well now you're in college. So what are you going to major in, right? So, are you going to major in competition? Are you going to major in weapons? Are you going to major in maybe Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu? These are all programs that we have in our school that we can kind of give them a path. How about leadership training? Can we steer you into a leadership role now to where you can assist with classes? Because, at that teenage stage too, with the young kids, they're pretty impressionable. Once they start getting to teenage, they think they know it all, right? And so it's like, well, they think they know it all, so let's give them a chance to practice knowing it all and teach them how to do it better before they become an adult. So that's something that I like to do with black belts is give them a focus. And, that helped me a ton. From first degree to second degree, I was still doing a lot of tournaments back in those days. In between like second and third degree, I think I was doing, a lot more Hapkido. And then between third degree and fourth degree, I had some, it's like, and it gives me something to like, you have to be ready to learn something new. Be ready to be a white belt again. Be ready to start over again. Be ready to, accept something new. That's really helped us with our black belts as well. Just kind of give them a different path, if you will. So,
I support that for sure. I think teaching would be a good way to get him past that hump too. Is because and we also, when you're teaching, you're getting help, but the student who is teaching is learning the art better because they have to teach it, and it gives them a new sense of purpose. So I think that would be a good thing too. Definitely having a teacher. I support that too. I think that's a good idea.
all right. So, the black belt from before said must be watching a little bit of the replay, but said he would always be so proud of you, Justin. And
Thank you.
Hayden said something I think is pretty cool too. Speaking from a kid martial artist, what really kept me going was becoming friends with the other kids in class. I would really encourage kids to talk to each other and to get to know one another, so there's more excitement in class. And this is why, this is why we have parents' night outs. This is why we have, camps or tournaments. It's one thing that I love about the tournaments. Like, we have a lot of kids that are getting to know each other and becoming friends from the other schools. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of my students that know your students, and your students know Robbie's students and Brandon's. Like, we just have this connection. So I think that is an amazing point, is to get involved in the extracurricular activities, because in most of our schools, we do more than just the, basic group classes. So whether it's relationships with other students or that relationship with, private lessons with an instructor, that's also a huge benefit. I know that my relationship with Brian Nan, while I was taking private lessons, man, I thought he was like the dude. I was like hanging out with the cool guy,
Uh-huh.
but I was paying him to do private lessons, but I still felt like it was super cool. So
Uh-huh.
I think that's awesome. And
Right.
yes, keeping it alive in Oregon. I'm happy to hear that. Happy to hear that that school is still going strong. Speaking of sleepovers, where's Nikki?
I don't know. Where is she?
Bring her
Sleeping.
back. Yeah, we had oh man, we had some good times, didn't we? We had
Yes,
some really
yes,
fun
definitely.
times.
Those are some core memories too when I was younger, was the karate sleepovers, and the fact that we used to do karate sleepovers is still wild to me. I don't think I would ever do a karate sleepover now. I don't even know if it would even fly, but it was definitely like there were some interesting situations that happened at those karate sleepovers. Very interesting. You get to see what kids were really like,
Oh yeah,
when they're either like there's like staying up to like 2 in the morning and just like doing wild. It was nuts, but it was a lot of fun.
we
A lot of fun.
yeah, sleepovers. I think we stopped doing sleepovers maybe 10 or 15 years, no,
Mhm.
15 or 20 years
It
ago.
was at the
Like, we
Hampshire
went to
school
doing
for sure.
movie
Right.
nights, parents' night
Right.
out,
Right.
for
Right.
a
Right.
couple
Right.
hours. The
Uh-huh.
overnight deal. I don't know how we did that. Like,
I don't
I
know.
just remember
That
the
was
first time
wild.
we did it.
I know, and it was
Oh,
just like kids, like sleeping bags on the mat. Like kids are like staying up super late, and then like we're waking up in the morning like crazy early, like eating donuts and like drinking orange, like Sunny Delight and stuff like that. It was just like, but it was the '90s, or like that's what things were just like whatever. Like I don't know, it's just wild to me. Like I can't imagine our students now like doing a sleepover with like all just that would be a lot. I would be like, you know what, I'm gonna hire Hayden Barnes to do that sleepover or that parents night out from now on. He's gonna do that
yeah.
one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna end on one final question. I know we had a couple others, didn't quite get to it,
It's all good.
but when students look back years from now, what do you hope they remember most about training with you?
That I was funny. I just wanted them to be like that. He was the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. He was just like the best personality, everything like that. I think that would be the best. Now, that's probably one of, honestly, believe it or not, like top three. Like I want them to remember, because if anything from my father, he taught me many things. But if humor is the one thing that I take with me forever, like I hope my last breath, my last word is some sort of a joke, because he was just funny to the end. Even when he couldn't talk, like he was like rolling his eyes and we were just making us laugh and just doing the funniest thing, just like visually oddly. Anyways, so the thing that, for real though, the thing that I wish that they could remember me from training would probably just be the honor and the value, just the honor that I have, that I teach them in the art, and just the value that I gave them. If I taught them something to make them a better person, I think that's what I want the most. When I teach people, I want them to find and to present their best self to me, to everyone in the world. I want them to remember that I was the one that was able to help them find that person, to find their best self, and teach them that legacy and that honor and that tradition that they carry on. Because when I watch people, when I heard messages, when they talked to my father on his last days, and they would send messages, just I would hear them say things like, you made me the best version of myself, and you taught me how to be such a great person, and I teach that to my students, and just that to me is legacy. That to me is something that I want to be remembered by. I want people to say that, Justin Ichikawa was that guy who taught me this, and I never thought I could do it, but I overcame this, and I became this person, this version of myself. That's what I want. That's what I hope to carry on, is that people look back and they see me as that funny, but also, somebody who is that taught me something that I still hold true now, and I taught my kids and things like that. That's what I always hope to aspire to be like that, to be like my father, Dennis Ichikawa, to be like him. And I hope that I could be like that for my people as well.
Well, I know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that they will remember that you were funny.
I hope so.
Because I don't
really do.
Because I don't think I've ever watched you teach a class or literally do anything without cracking some kind of joke. But on the other hand, I also know for a fact, and I'm sure that you've experienced this because you've been teaching quite a while. I mean, how old are you now? 40 what?
41. I just turned
41. So, but you've been training since birth, right?
Right.
But you've been teaching probably since, a teenager, right?
Yeah.
In that last, 30-ish years, you've had to have had people that have come back to you and told you that and said to you point blank, man, you changed my life. I was this punk kid, and you straightened me out a little bit, or you taught me this, and they remember. I know for a fact, because we all get that as martial arts instructors. People that come back. What I really love is the biggest compliment is when a student that I've had, that I had the honor of teaching, because people don't realize that. People think that like it's an honor to learn from us, but like it's an honor that you allow us in your child's life,
into your life,
and,
exactly.
and let us teach you. But for someone to come back and bring their child to train, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting grandchildren, which is a little weird. But they thought so highly of what we did and how we did it. You remember Ryan Lair? Remember Ryan Lair?
No, I don't.
Okay, Ryan Lair. He's here in Moore Park and coaches baseball. But he brought his son to me, and he would just tell me all the time, every single time I see him, he's like, man, the things you taught me. And by the way, he never even got his black belt. But in the time that he was with, and he's like, I want my son to have that. And it's like, wow, that's such a huge compliment. What a big compliment that like now you not only your parents trusted me with you, now you're trusting me with your kid.
Right.
That's pretty amazing. So I know for a fact that you've had this happen for you, and will continue to have this happen, and one day you too will have grandchildren visiting you.
I can't wait.
I can't wait, right? Yeah, just a few more years down the road. But yeah, you're doing. Listen, it's been such a privilege watching you grow up. Sometimes I forget that you're 40. What? Like you were just 10 years old or something,
I know, right?
on demo team doing all the stuff. But man, you've grown into, and just talking with you today, this is a conversation that, we don't have all the time. I don't get to talk about all the, we talk about how many people you bring into the tournament and what are we doing next week, but just having this conversation, I've learned so much more about you, and you're wise beyond your years. And I know you're going to credit your dad for a lot. I know you're going to do that because you honor him and you respect him, but never forget that you have something special too, and you have something unique, and you're not in your dad's shadow. You are Justin Ichikawa, right? You share the last name, but you're going to forge your own path, and you're going to do your own thing, and you're going to be amazing at it, because I know you have a heart for it now. Some people may have kind of questioned that in the early years, because younger Justin was all over the place. Now the more mature Justin is, I can see your true passion for this and continuing this legacy. So I'm excited. I'm here to support you. Always will be. And I appreciate you being on the show today. It was
Thank you so much.
it was awful.
I'm honored that you decided to, you know, I kept seeing all these people get invited to be on your show, and I'm like, dude, where's my phone call? Like, what did I do? Did I insult this guy? And finally, I'm like, okay, you know, he ran out of guests, so he called me, and then here I am. But no, I appreciate you, like all the support and all the help you've given me over the years, just out of the goodness of your heart. I could never, you know, live enough lifetimes to thank you so much for all that you've given back to our studio, to my father, to me. I'm you know, very, very, you know, grateful that for all the things you've done. I'm thank you so much for all that you've done. Thank you so much for having me on. And I did not pay him to say all those nice things about me.
Maybe a little bit, maybe a little.
Maybe there's a couple bucks here and there, but I brought a couple. I'll bring a couple extra students to the tournament. But no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it a lot.
Always a jokester. Well, listen, it has truly been my pleasure, and you know, I love you. I love your family. You guys, I really wouldn't be where I am today without the support of your entire family. You know. And we'll share some more memories on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. So guys, tune in. We'll be here on this same channel again. And what's going to be unique about it is I'm going to put the link out there. And so for those of you that are watching, look for the link, because you'll be able to click on that link and you'll be able to come right on the screen, just like Justin is with me right now. And you'll be able to share your memory of Dennis Ichikawa with us. And I can't wait to hear all the stories. I can't promise that it's going to be an hour. I don't know. We're going to start at 6 p.m. and I'll keep taking people on. I might have to limit people's time a little bit, but I will try to get everybody that tunes in to jump on. So again, Justin, thanks for being here today. I'll see you again Saturday night. And actually, maybe I'll see you Saturday morning if you'll be at the tournament.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Master Motivation Podcast. Do me a favor, like, share, and comment. And don't forget to go over to YouTube and subscribe. Master Motivation Podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.